What's up, everybody? How you all doing? I hope you guys had a great week. I really did. We're up here in beautiful Quebec, Montreal, Canada. We just got slammed with 30-plus centimeters of snow. It is beautiful out. It is a wonderful place if you don't have a car and you don't have to park it anywhere and you just have to go walk and enjoy the beautiful white tapestry that is surrounding my city. It is really nice. Today on the podcast, Vox and Hops, episode number 20. Very proud that I've hit number 20 already. It's going well. I have a bunch of new episodes that I've been recording this week, new interviews, first interviews that I've actually recorded in 2019. I'm stoked to share all this new content with you guys. Today on the podcast, I have the last of my series from the Hell Over Europe 2 tour. Today I'm with Lyn Jeffs, the drummer of Ingested. He was my last interview, as I said, on the Hell Over Europe 2 tour. We had a great pint of ale at the Knott, which is a craft beer bar in Manchester in the UK. It was one of the last shows of the before last show of the Hell Over Europe tour. And it was a crazy, crazy night. The crowd was off the hook at the Rebellion in Manchester. Can't wait to get myself back there to play a show like that again. It was insane is all I have to say. My beer of the week from Friday, February 8th to Friday 15th is and has to be, because I've found myself purchasing so many of them, was from Espace. They just released a nice little IPA called Trempette Tropicale. It is a delicious New England style IPA, beautiful hazy color. It just has the right hints of bitterness. It is hoppy. It is delicious. It is fruity. It is tropical. It is extremely drinkable. It came out last week, and I must have bought at least 5 to 7 cans of this to share with people, but I just found myself I kept picking it up to share it with more people because I just think it's so good. So Matt's beer of the week this week is Trempette Tropicale IPA from Espace. I strongly suggest you guys go out and find it before I find them all. So sit back, enjoy, crack yourself open a beer, enjoy Vox and Hops episode number 20 with Lyn Jeffs from Ingested.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Here we are, Vox and Hops, episode number 20. I'm sitting down at the Knott in Manchester with Lyn. What's your last name, Lyn?
Jeffs.
Lyn Jeffs, the drummer of Ingested. We're here on the TerraVision UK tour, which is the ending of the Hell Over Europe 2 tour. I feel like I've been on tour for a long time, but
Me too.
It's almost laughable in comparison to what you've been doing. So explain to people how long you've been on tour this year.
So we started a US tour on October 19th, which was our, I think, 3rd US tour of the year. We kind of linked it up with TerraVision UK, which started, I can't remember now, 26th of November, I think. Something like that. Anyway, we had like a day or two in between, but obviously they were flying days. And then this is actually finishing tomorrow, and then we're heading straight out up to Belgium, and then we've got another 2 weeks in Europe. So
yeah. You guys have been really, really fucking busy.
Yeah. It's been fun. A lot of beers. So.
Speaking of beers, what are we drinking? It's a pale ale, the Wander Beyond Peak. It is an ale.
Yeah.
And for people that don't understand what ales are, they have the casks in the basement, and they hand pump them up into your...
Yeah, exactly. So British ale is a little bit different to American craft ale. I mean, mainly the difference between ale and lager is the temperature it's brewed at, which obviously a lot of people do know anyway. So it is served at slightly below room temperature. It's flat. There's a slight creamy head on it, which you only really get in the north of England, really. And if you go down to London, you actually don't get really much head on it. It's just bubbles and very, very, very flat. So the beers in the north of England are actually generally a little bit creamier, a little bit nicer. But yeah, it's kind of a typical pale ale.
Let's try it. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, see the flavors there.
That's very typical.
Yeah.
Very hoppy.
Very hoppy, nice.
Not too much bitterness.
But the flatness what like changes, my perception of the beer automatically. I'd be like, something's wrong with this beer.
Yeah.
But it's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's the first ale on the podcast. I would like to try a stout like this and see how that messes with
It'd be
my
the
brain.
same sort of texture, with a British stout. I mean, that's pretty much an atypical.
It's creamy.
It's pretty much atypical ale. I mean, that is the most typical ale you can get in the UK.
That's delicious, yeah. And from what I understand, they take the casks and they age them in the basement until maturity.
Exactly.
And it's up to locals.
And you need to let them settle.
Yeah.
If you don't let them settle, they'll explode.
Really?
Yeah, so you need to leave them usually for a few days.
Okay.
And I mean, these are brewed at about 3.8 ABV. That's kind of a typical for a pale ale or IPA. We call them session beers.
Yes.
Which means you can drink a lot of them and not get too pissed.
Which is a good thing, yeah.
Exactly.
Because we got to play later.
Want to be enough.
Let's talk about beer. Do you remember your first experiences with beer as growing up?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, where I'm from in Mid Wales, it's quite a big drinking culture. I'm from like a very small village, so it sounds really bad, but I was generally going to the pub when I was about 14 years old.
Okay.
The laws over here are a little bit more lax. Well, they were back then anyway. They're a little bit stronger now, but so it wasn't that kind of unfamiliar to see young kids really going to the pub with their parents or older brothers and sisters and whatever. But I didn't really get into... I started off with cider, actually.
Okay, yeah.
So cider was the first thing I really started drinking. Then I got into lager. It was only really when I hit about 19, 20 that I started really heavily getting into ale.
Into the craft beers.
Into more crafts and ales and...
Do you remember like the brewery that really turned you?
Whichwood Brewery, Hobgoblin. That was the first one, because I was never really into dark beers. Going from cider to lager was like, I quite like refreshing beers, as you do when you're usually young. And there was a friend of mine that turned me on to Hobgoblin, which is a dark ale. It's a very staple, famous ale in the UK. The brewery's actually been bought out recently. Well, I say recently, it's a few years ago. It was a Whichwood Brewery in Oxfordshire, and they got bought out by Braxbeer. So the recipe's slightly changed, but it's an absolutely fantastic beer. Very, very hoppy, very dark. You should try and try some.
I'll have to get my hand on it. Yeah.
Hey, Bloodstock Festival?
No.
So Bloodstock Festival in the UK, which is obviously one of the biggest extreme metal festivals. They actually have a tent there every year.
Okay, if I ever play there, I will make my way there. Yeah. We're sitting outside, so it's a natural Manchester background atmosphere going on. So, you guys will have to deal with that.
Yeah, it's not raining. I mean, it's trying, but it's close enough.
It's been like this the whole tour, just an overcast sky, slightly raining, but not necessarily raining whenever I want to go do something.
So, when we came back from America, I mean, we were surprised because we had to prepare for like a 3-month long tour, really. Preparing all our clothes and whatever for all the weather conditions we'll have to go through. But America was roasting the entire time, even towards the end of November.
It was hot.
It was like 25 degrees Celsius, which is warm. And we were like, when's it going to actually chill out? As soon as we got to the UK.
There you go.
Back to normal.
What is your favorite thing about touring?
Meeting people. Yeah. I think meeting cool people like yourself. It's nice to hang out. It's nice to make new friends on tour, and you don't get to see people that often. Like we toured with Aborted before. Christian Donaldson obviously mixed our last 2 albums. We met him in person in Montreal a few months ago, so it's nice to actually share some real time with him. It's just it's just cool being on the road. It can be hard work sometimes. It can be stressful, but there's always beer available. Sometimes food.
What would be the worst thing about touring?
I'd say travelling between shows it can be tough, especially when you're out in places like America, where you've got 12-hour drives, 15-hour drives. It can take its toll on you. But generally speaking, we've got used to it now. We've done probably about 150 shows this year.
That's insane.
Yeah, since about April. So we're pretty fucked. Physically.
You must be tired.
Yeah, we can't wait to go home. But you know how it is. You do it in stages. You kind of we started this tour on October 19th, but it's like, okay, we got the first leg in America, and then the second leg's UK, and then we're like, okay, and then we think about the next one. It's like, if you think of it in all in one go, you're gonna stress yourself out. So you have to break it up.
Get very depressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about you growing up. When did music become a priority in your life?
Really, it was my dad that got me into drums, into bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Thin Lizzy, things like that. I was just going typical dad music. And from there, I kind of found my own path. Got into more into grunge actually originally. Alice in Chains, Nirvana, and then from there, when I first heard the self-titled Slipknot album, that was what really changed everything for me. Really, I think for me, I was, because I'm 31 now. It came out at the perfect age for me. So when that album came out, it kind of unleashed a whole barrage of extreme music that I can get into. So then I got into Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Nile, everything else from there. So.
And you always wanted to be a drummer?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a drummer, so
okay.
Yeah, so I actually begged him to get his drum kit down from the attic when I was about 12. And he wouldn't do it for ages. He's like, no, I can't be bothered doing it. I don't want to do it. I was like, yeah, come, please, Dad, bring it down. So anyway, he got it down, and that was it then. I've been playing ever since. I wish I chose something simpler.
A little bit less pieces.
Yeah.
Who were some early drummers that really inspired you? Was it
John Bonham?
Yeah.
Originally, John Bonham was the first guy, and I was like, man, this guy is just insane. I still think now, what he plays, or what he did play, is completely relevant to a lot of techniques that people still use. I think from there on, I think Nick Barker from Doom Gear, he was a big influence on me. Paul Bostaph, Slayer. And then you've got the newer guys a little bit later on from that, like Tony Laurino from Nile in the Dark and Shrines. Flo Monnier, who's your drummer, big influence back in the day as well. Especially with his blasting technique and things like that. I kind of stole a little bit.
we're inspired by.
Yeah, inspired, not stole.
Something the most interesting I find about your band is that you guys have been together for 12 years and you're all original members still.
Yeah, it's pretty unusual, isn't it?
It's very unusual.
Yeah.
So what is the secret?
I don't know. I mean, we have had some changes live when some people can't do tours. Like I've missed out on 1 or 2 tours over the years. We got a couple of fill-ins, but generally, I don't think the band would work without any of us. I think we've just got a chemistry there, especially when it comes to writing and touring. There's no way a normal band could tour this much this year without killing each other. And don't get me wrong, we've come close, but we know how to kind of set the tone and not get too carried away with arguments and things like that. We're so used to each other's company that we can have full-blown arguments. You probably heard them on the bus sometimes. But we're fine the next day. It's absolutely fine. We have that kind of relationship and chemistry with each other. So
it's almost like a family.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
You guys love and hate each other at the same time.
And the rest, I'm the only one that doesn't actually live in Manchester, but the rest of the guys live so close to each other.
They hang out.
It's like Coronation Street.
And honestly. They hang out off tour too.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I don't. I mean, I think they probably do sometimes, but I think they just want to see their families. To be honest, when they go off tour. So yeah, so it's only me that lives away from Manchester. So,
what would be like a dream tour for Ingested?
Package-wise,
yeah.
On a personal level, or for the band?
You could do both.
Okay, so for me. I would usually say Prince, but he died a couple of years ago, didn't he? As just someone to tour with, just for the experience. I'd say for the band, I mean, to be honest, Slipknot's obviously probably the ultimate tour to be on. I think what bands would suit us, I think Dying Fetus. We've never actually toured with Dying Fetus. I think that should be something that should be on the cards at some point. Despised Icon would be very cool. We're very good friends with Despised Icon, and again, it's a band that we've never really toured with, so that would be very cool. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said Cannibal Corpse, Nile, Suffocation, Cryptopsy, and we've kind of completed that in the last couple of years. So I'm like, okay, where's the next?
That's always what it is.
Exactly.
Never satisfied, always more.
Yeah,
that's the artist curse.
Yeah, you got to stay hungry though.
What is your absolute horror tour story? Worst thing that's ever happened to you guys on tour?
That's a good question. There's been a lot. So trying to think what I can say and what I can't say.
Can keep it PC.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm trying to rifle through all of them at the moment. Even this year, we've done so many. I mean, we had a time at the end of Summer Slaughter where the last week Sam couldn't complete the tour because he fell really ill. And he had to leave the tour.
Really?
Yeah. So we had to do the rest of that tour with just one guitarist.
Oh, that's
so Sean
not fun.
Sean had to play both parts. So that was pretty bad. I mean, we're usually pretty cool, to be honest. We're usually pretty cool. So,
how have you evolved your drumming over the years?
I think by playing with a lot of killer drummers, to be honest, and just watching them. I've actually simplified a lot of things that I do nowadays. I used to be all about speed, like just I need to be fucking playing at 300 BPM like all the time. Like, how do I get to that level, this level? You know, you can hear that if you listen to our first album compared to our most recent one. There's like a gravity blast in every song. Like the blast beats are like 280 through 310 BPM, like pretty much all the time. And then this last one, there's no gravity blast that's actually at all. You can kind of see what I've done with my drumming if you listen to the albums, like in order. You can see that we've become more focused. I try to write more catchy parts now instead of just trying to impress, like trying to create memorable parts, even things that are quite simple. I mean, Inferno from Behemoth, I toured with Behemoth a few years ago, and I thought he was incredible to watch just because of his writing ability, and just he would play something that wouldn't be that complicated, but it just stick in your head. Even more than a riff sometimes. It just stick in your head, like just little China parts, like little ride parts. And I kind of took a little bit of notice of that, and I was like, okay, actually, he's doing something quite clever here, where he's taking a step back from, he's taking a step back from the riff and actually doing something, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more reserved, but still, still musically, creative. Yeah,
and letting the music breathe.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Who do you think is the best modern drummer active today?
I think the guy we're on tour with is up there, Ken Badine.
Yeah, he's really solid.
Yeah, I mean, we did the Aborted American tour earlier this year. I don't think I've seen him make a mistake in 2 tours. Like, he's insanely good.
And he plays in Crocs.
He's nuts. He's nuts. And it's not even his first instrument. He plays guitar.
Yeah.
He's just a sick guitarist as well.
Yeah.
I hate people like that.
Who is the next big metal band in your opinion?
I think from the UK, I think Malevolence.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be doing big things. Elsewhere, we toured with Body Snatcher actually.
Okay.
We've done a couple of tours with Body Snatcher there. Not really a death metal band. They've got death metal elements, but they're more of a beatdown hardcore band.
Okay.
They're incredible live. Very, very, very good. It's like being punched in the face for half an hour. I think they'll do big things next year. I tour with so many bands now. It's impossible to think. I mean, Behemoth are doing an amazing job. I mean, like I said, I toured with them a few years ago in 2012, and their stage show from then until now, we did a festival, Metal Days, in the summer. It's just unreal, man. It's just... And they've got the same crew pretty much. I was like speaking to the guys, I was like, you still like the same 4 guys, still the same drum tech, same lighting guy, and like the stage show is unbelievable. It's just next level.
They invested in the band, and it's paid off.
Yeah,
in the long run, they're definitely the biggest metal band from Europe right now. I can't think of another one that's as big as them. Yeah. No. There's Cannibal Corpse from the States, but
the Cannibal Corpse is like the
opposite.
The other side. It's
minimalist.
just a stripped down show, no lights, just red light, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah,
so, okay. And it's equally as entertaining. It's insane. I mean, there's no other band like Cannibal Corpse.
No. What is the achievement that you're most proud of?
I think we're not quite completed this year, but I think when we get to the end of this year, I think that'll be a massive achievement for us, doing this many shows consecutively. On the back of an album that actually hit the Billboard charts for the first time. So I mean, that as well. I think that gave us a big lift when we started touring in April. We were like, oh wow, this is actually seems like it's worth it now. It's worth putting the hours in to do this, because we had such an amazing reception from this album. It's given us some energy to do it. So yeah, we're proud about that.
What is one misstep you wish you could take back?
I think we made a mistake on our second album, Surreption. I think we tried to experiment a bit too much too early, and it came back to bite us on the arse, to be honest. We tried some different things production wise, like try and strip it down, and like, because the first album we found was quite overproduced, especially for its time as well, and the type of music, because we were doing quite underground brutal slam and death metal, and it was fairly well produced. And then we got quite a lot of criticism for that, because I think it was a little bit ahead of its time, to be honest, because we were taking notes of bands like Beneath the Massacre, Despised Icon, but no other band in our scene at that point was really doing super well produced albums. So we tried to strip it back on the second album, and we just timed it completely wrong. So we kind of shelved that album, and we actually took a break for a while. We didn't do anything for about 2 years after that album, because it just fucking
just to regroup.
Flopped. It just flopped completely.
Funny story about that album. I had just toured with Cattle.
Yeah.
And Dave McGraw is a huge Surreption fan.
No way.
So I go home and I tried to download this Surreption album, and I ended up downloading Surreption by Ingested. And I was like, this is not the band. Anyways, sorry, I cut you off.
What do you think of it?
I didn't listen to it for too long.
Yeah, exactly. Neither do I. I can't listen to it. I cannot listen to it. It just annoys me. The production isn't there. I mean, I think if we probably re-recorded it and did something different vocally and structured the songs a little bit better, I think it could be okay. But yeah, we just made a mistake with it. And like I said, for 2 years we didn't really do anything. We didn't really do anything for 2 years. We didn't tour. We played a couple of shows, but only in the UK, really. You know, maybe a show in Belgium here and there, but we didn't really do anything. And then when we brought out the EP, Revered by No One, Feared by All, it was a 4-track EP. We did that in 2013, I believe. We were on the brink of just like quitting the band and just be like, okay, it's not worth it anymore. And we brought out the EP, and it just gave us a massive rejuvenation. And that kind of kicked us on then to do the album, and then the most recent one as well. So
that's it. It's that drive. Yeah?
You know how it is. You know, you have ebbs and flows all the time.
That's it. It's
especially when you're in a band for like 10 plus years. It's
all the original members.
Yeah.
What is the best piece of advice you could give to someone who's starting to play drums today?
Don't overcomplicate your setup, because I made the mistake of doing that. And when you become a fully touring artist and doing it all the time, you just end up stripping back. I actually had the same conversation with Flo yesterday, Flo Monnier from Cryptopsy, and we were just talking about that. He was just like, started off with like, you know, his kits used to be millions of cymbals, like toms everywhere, and he's like, oh, just fuck this, like, what's the fucking point? I was like, exactly. I did the exact same thing.
Cut down on crew. We keep it all in house.
Absolutely.
I think every tour he takes something else away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, I mean, always think about the music. Only do what is necessary for the riffs. You know, I mean, the riffs and the vocals are up front for a reason. You know, I see a lot of drummers do things too complicated, you know, sometimes, and it's impressive, but it doesn't really add anything to a show. It kind of takes away from stuff. It takes away the impact sometimes. So
it like blurs the song almost.
Yeah, and we were guilty of that for a long time. So I think just simplifying things and just making things work in the correct way. You know, be thoughtful.
Flo always gets a lot of shit because he doesn't have 2 kick drums, which I find is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like people like to show up to a show and get impressed because there's 2 kick drums there, when half the time it doesn't matter. It's a double pedal on.
Exactly. Well, half the drummers play 2 kicks and have a double pedal anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Boom, secrets.
Yeah.
Unveiled.
I won't tell you who, even though I've got a few in my head.
Do you have any guilty music vices?
What I listen to?
Yeah.
No, I'm nothing guilty, but I tell you what I'm massively into at the moment is a lot of synth pop.
Yeah?
Yeah, Gunship, The Midnight, Abstract Void, a lot of the kind of synth pop bands that have just come out in the last few years, all that kind of retro wave. It's kind of it's on in our van a lot, actually, because we don't listen to metal much on tour. I don't know whether it's the same for you guys, but
there's no space for metal.
We just as soon as we are not playing a show, that's it. I mean, we might have the odd day where we're like, oh, we'll have a Pantera day or something.
Yeah,
you know, if we're all fucking drinking and whatever. But generally, we listen to podcasts. We listen to pop music. Might be Prince, Bjork, whatever it may be. But yeah, we're not the metal people that a lot of people want, I guess.
They want you and expect you to be.
That's the same with a lot of bands,
Yeah. You're not the first person to mention The Midnight on the podcast.
Mate, it's amazing, that last album. Yeah, really good.
It's a very loud environment that we live in.
Yeah, it is.
And to be barraged with that much aggressive music throughout the show, through changeovers, and nothing drives me more crazy than I'm like building up the kit before, and they're playing like Deicide or something.
Yeah.
It's like, can we just put something on Zen in between
when we
the
headline,
metal bands?
we have it as a rule, right? We literally give them a playlist. Go, just play this. We don't want any metal. No, you can play whatever you want, just no metal.
Yeah, just no metal. It's too much. It's
we just don't want it.
So I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna check out all the releases which I've missed.
Yeah,
the metal releases. Although I did enjoy Psychroptic, which came out while I was on tour. Yeah,
one of my favorite bands to tour with, actually.
Yeah.
They're amazing guys.
The Haleys,
incredible live.
Jason,
yeah, man. Todd Stern as well.
Yeah,
he did the whole tour without drinking. You know,
I'm impressed. Yeah,
mate, I was impressed.
Yeah.
They had, actually all of them did.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But
I would like to challenge myself to do that one day.
Yeah, fuck that.
It would be a very boring podcast.
One week. But that album's really good, man.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Very, very good.
All the weird vocal harmonies in the back there, and
what else are you gonna check out?
Who else am I going to check out?
Yeah.
Or have I checked out? I really didn't give Hate Eternal a good listen.
I'm not listening to that yet.
Yeah, because I was on tour and it's just too much.
Who was drumming on it, actually? Because I know they got Longstreth now, haven't they?
I don't know who tracked it, but I know Longstreth he's
doing live stuff now. Yeah.
I really like the new Ocean Collective, the Ocean there. I'm a huge fan of theirs, so that hit me right in the right spot there.
The Ocean.
Yeah, very
much
so.
I actually listened to Precambrian for the first time in about 5 or 6 years the other day.
Really?
Yeah, because I just completely forgot about it. It just came up on Spotify. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out again.
We were loading into Berlin, and my sound man went to go get a coffee, and he saw a nightliner unloading their shit, and it was the Ocean.
No way.
Unloading, because they just finished a tour. They were loading their shit into their jam pad. And
have you seen them live?
I have never seen them live.
They're very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, they're incredible.
I'll have to put that on my list.
Yeah. They are good.
And he knows them because one of the members lives in Mallorca, and Mega's from Mallorca. And you live in Mallorca. So let's talk about that. What spawned the transition from the UK to Mallorca?
I've lived in so many places in the UK. Like I said, I'm from Wales originally. I moved up to Manchester when I was about 18, which is how I met the Ingested boys. I lived here for about just under a year. I lived in Birmingham for a while. I lived in Oxford for a while. I lived in London for nearly 10 years. And then from London, after being there for 10 years, I kind of wanted to get away because it's an amazing city to live in, but it's quite stressful. So we moved to Swansea, which is where my family's originally from. So me and my girlfriend moved there. My girlfriend's from Mallorca. We lived there for about a year and a half. And then when we decided to do the band full time this year in April, she was like, well, if you're going to be away so much, I would kind of like to go back home and be around my family with my friends. I was like, well, okay, that sounds better than fucking South Wales.
There are only a few good answers when you're on tour, when you're talking to your loved ones, and most of the time it's yes.
Oh yeah,
I agree. And you're right.
Exactly.
Sorry, Jess.
Yeah, she was like, I want to move back to Mallorca. I was like, well, that sounds good to me. So. And it's actually easy. It's actually cheaper to get a flight from Mallorca to Manchester than it is to get a train from Swansea to Manchester.
Wow.
And it's quicker. It's 2.5 hours. On a train, it's 5.5.
Oh, you can't go wrong.
So it's all right, yeah.
So you decided to do full time. That means everyone quit their jobs.
Everyone's quit their jobs.
Everyone. What were you guys doing work-wise?
Most of us were working in restaurants.
Okay.
I used to manage restaurants in London. I used to manage the vegan-vegetarian restaurant for a few years.
Really?
Yeah. Sean was a postman. Brad used to work at the sorting office, the post office. Sam was a chef. Jay was a general manager at a restaurant as well in Manchester. So we all had kind of unsociable hours within work, so we could always kind of make the band work in a certain sense, but you can never really get that time off that you need, so we made the plunge.
How do you feel it will affect your relationship and your writing relationship with the band being in Mallorca?
We're actually recording in Mallorca.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got something coming up. I won't say what.
Okay.
But we've got something coming up, and we will actually be tracking drums and vocals in Mallorca.
Good.
We do guitars ourselves anyway.
Okay.
But to be honest, I mean, because I've always lived so far away, I mean, our writing process is usually... I mean, Sean writes the majority of the riffs, to be honest. And he'll have a map in his head of how he wants things to go, and then we'll get together, usually when we're on tour, and actually just program some drums.
Really?
And demo it that way while we're on the road. We've already done a few on this tour.
Really?
And then we just go home and learn it, and then get back into the studio. We might play 1 or 2 live, so we get comfortable with it, and that's it, really. So our writing process has always been the same. So
that's good. That's really a good work ethic. On tour, I find Cryptops we can't focus on writing material.
It's hard. I mean, it is hard. We have to really motivate ourselves,
which is why it took so long in between the 2 EPs, because we just toured so much. That
I think it depends on your situation as well. I feel like we find it easy when we're touring in a van in Europe, because we're in such close proximity. We're facing each other. We've got all the sound system in the van anyway, and we can get our laptops out and we just work. We can just work in that circle, where when you're on a bus, you're kind of floating around everywhere. Some people are drinking, some people are going to bed. In America, it's slightly different than how the vans are over there. So we usually do most of it when we're in Europe, to be honest.
That's very, very, very excellent work ethic. I'm jealous. So what do you guys have coming up? The secret thing that you can't tell me about?
Yeah, so straight after this tour, we're going to Europe with Extermination, Dismemberment and Stillbirth. So we're doing about 2 weeks, I think, in Europe. And then we're going to take a month off. And then we have, in January, we've got a 3-day tour in the UK. And that is pretty much all we have booked at the moment. Well, that's all I can say we've got booked.
Okay, yeah.
Next year's going to be very similar to this year. Let's put it that way.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you for showing me this nice real ale.
Yeah.
My first foray into real ale.
First time I've had this one, so yeah. I mean, this is about as typical as you can get.
It's delicious. It's delicious. Thank you for everything, and cheers.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening to Vox and Hops episode number 20 with Lyn. I had a great time sitting at that Knott pub, brought back some fond memories sitting up there on the outside patio, the terrace, as we would say up here in Quebec. And I apologize for some of the background noises that was going on throughout the episode. I remember being frustrated with this group of dudes that just came and set themselves up right next to us, smoking their cigarettes and chatting really loud while I'm conducting a podcast interview with a dude. But it is what it is, and I'm happy with the end result. And Lyn is an interesting dude. I'm still baffled at the fact that they're all original members, that they've all quit their jobs so that they could focus on the band 100%. I commend them for that. They have a lot of drive, and they have a lot of dedication to the band, writing on the road, getting stuff done, being productive. I'm envious and proud of them for being able to accomplish that. Up next on the podcast, I recently, just this week, sat down with my bassist from Cryptopsy. He is also the bassist of Cattle Decapitation, as well as a new project called Acurian, which hopefully see the light of day shortly. It is my bassist from Cryptopsy, Monsieur Ollie Pinard. And we sat down this past Monday at one of the best, if not the best, tap rooms of Montreal called Vice Versa. They have a ridiculously amount of great beer on tap, which rotates frequently. We had a great chat about, his love of wrestling, all of the bands that he's a part of, and everything that he's got coming up. We talk about some silly Cryptopsy anecdotes that, but we probably shouldn't share, but we did. So all that and more coming up next week on Vox and Hops, episode number 21 with Ollie Pinard. If you enjoy this podcast, if you like what you're hearing, do me a favor, go and rate it 5 stars where you can rate the podcast, because it will be easier for people to find the podcast if they're looking for it. And if you want to share it, subscribe to it, I would appreciate that greatly. I want to thank everyone that is listening to the podcast. There's no podcast if it wasn't for all of you. The continual support that I'm receiving is greatly appreciated, and I am in awe every week that more and more people are downloading the episodes, are sharing the episodes. So a big shout out to all of you who are doing that. I hope you guys have a great week, drink some great beers, spend some time with your family, your friends, and your loved ones. All the best, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.